Hi, my name is Chad Pressey, and I'm the Financial Manager for the Department of Neighborhood and Community Services. Today I'll be giving you an overview of the functions of the Finance and Procurement Unit and talking a little bit about how employees interact with our unit and the services that we provide. The Finance and Procurement Unit consists of several teams that cover various functional areas for all activities and policies related to budget, finance, travel, grants, and purchasing. We have a fairly good-sized team of 24 positions that work together to handle all of the agency's funding and spending. Because of the wide variety of functions that our team covers and the large volume of financial activity that NCS has throughout the year, our unit is divided up not only by function, but also by division. The Contracts and Procurement team handles all of the contract administration and purchase order needs of the agency. This particular team supports all of the divisions of the agency and is responsible for assisting programs with the setup, management, and payment of services and products that are procured using purchase orders. This includes office supply purchases through Guernsey. Just as a note, if you do want to purchase a product that would qualify as an office supply, county policy does require that we purchase those through Guernsey. Typically, each business unit has someone that has the ability to go into focus and place Guernsey orders. So if you need any help locating someone with that ability, you can just let us know. We also have a team that covers the budget, accounting, and grant activity needs for the agency leadership, access, and regional services divisions. We have another team that covers the budget and grants management of the child care division, also referred to as the Office for Children, or OFC. And we also have an accounts payable and accounts receivable team that handles revenue collection and payments for OFC. OFC brings in a lot of revenue related to the school-age child care or SAC program, about $48 million annually during a normal year of operations. So there's a lot of activities and work that goes into the handling of that money. All of the teams in our unit work closely not only with each other, but also with program staff throughout the agency to ensure that funding is available to serve residents and that we carry out the disbursement and collection of funds according to all federal, state, and county policies and regulations. The functions of the Finance and Procurement Unit can be divided up into 6 main areas. In no particular order, the first function is accounts payable and accounts receivable activities. This basically means the collection of incoming revenue from our programs and the payment of funds to outside organizations and vendors, NCS employees, and sometimes payments to other county departments as well. We have many programs across the divisions of NCS that bring in revenue, including SAC, the Employee Child Care Center, our regional community and senior centers, transportation programs, and therapeutic recreation programs. That's definitely not an exhaustive list of revenue sources, but that's a pretty good example of the programs that we have that bring in revenue. Budget development and monitoring is the next area that we manage. This includes not only monitoring our budget throughout the year to make sure that we're not overspending and finding ways to pay for things that pop up, but also working closely with the Department of Management and Budget to develop our annual budget requirements, submit budget requests, and ensure that spending is done according to expectations and policies. Budget development and monitoring is something that we work very closely with program staff on throughout the year, and we're constantly having discussions about not only what is needed, but how we can pay for it. Grants management is another area that we handle. NCS receives a large number of grants each year from the federal and state governments, as well as nonprofit and business organizations in the community. In total, we collect about $30 million in grant funding annually. We have a large number of positions in NCS that are actually funded by grants. Some of you may actually be sitting in a position that is funded by a grant. We assist program staff with the full life cycle of grants, including the application process, the management and reporting of the grant funds once they're received, and the final closeout and reporting. We also ensure that the application and receipt of grants is done according to county policy, which includes getting approval from the Board of Supervisors when necessary. There are a lot of policies and rules about applying for and receiving grant funds, so if your program is ever interested in applying for a grant opportunity, please contact us to discuss and we can walk you through any of the various policies and procedures that we need to comply with in order to do so. Contracts and procurement is another area that we handle. This area includes all purchase order activity, including establishing purchase orders, processing changes to purchase orders, completing payments to vendors, and closing out POs once the services are complete. We also assist program staff with contract-related questions and issues and work with the Department of Procurement and Material Management to make sure that NCS is in compliance with all purchasing regulations. The county has a lot of policies that need to be followed regarding how we go about purchasing things, including what circumstances we can purchase things and the processes that we need to use depending on the specific procurement need and the amount. So definitely let us know if you have any questions or have a need to purchase anything. P-card spending and compliance also falls under this area. Our unit also handles all travel and financial policies, including processing requests, providing oversight, and compliance monitoring. We process all local and non-local travel requests. This would include any mileage reimbursement you may have, as well as other travel-related costs, such as hotels or flights, if you happen to be traveling out of town for county business-related events. There are many policies and procedures that must be followed in order to get approved for and reimbursed for travel-related expenses, so please make sure to reach out to us if you are not familiar with the policies or have any questions. Last but certainly not least, we coordinate audit processes for the agency. NCS is audited by many entities each year, including the county's own Office of Internal Audit, contracted external audit agencies, the state and the federal government. These entities are constantly reviewing not only how we spend our money, but if we're following the processes the way we're supposed to, and how we document and maintain all our files and records. Basically, any process or activity in the county is subject to audit and is reviewed periodically. That's definitely something that we encourage all county employees to keep in mind. Our unit is heavily involved in working with the auditing entities to provide documentation, explanations, and responses when required. If your program or yourself is ever approached by an auditing entity, please make sure to reach out to us so that we can help walk you through the process and make sure that we're consistent and accurate in the information that we're providing to those auditing organizations. While these 6 functional areas certainly don't cover every single task or service that the Finance and Procurement Unit provides, they do cover the big ticket areas that we handle, especially those where you as an employee are most likely to interact with our various teams. As I've described in the previous descriptions of our functional areas, our unit serves the entire agency and employees at all levels of the organization. At the program level, we meet with and work with programs to implement services, find creative ways to fund various needs, and plan for budgetary requirements. As an individual employee, some of the services you might receive from our unit include petty cash reimbursements, travel reimbursement requests and advances, as well as P-card training and testing. Just a note on P-cards, if you will be using a P-card in your role, you are required to take a training and pass a test before you're able to use the P-card. So if you have a need to use one of the cards, please make sure to reach out to discuss, and we can connect you to the training that's required so that you can get that role approved. We also play a big role in serving the residents of Fairfax County. As a supporting function, we don't, under most circumstances, interact directly with the public, but the sound financial management of NCS funds allows programs to have the necessary resources for the services provided to our residents. And this also ensures transparent and efficient use of funds in order to maximize our resources. We are spending taxpayer dollars, so it's always important that we're spending those funds appropriately and in a way that maximizes the benefits to our residents. Just to give an idea of the types and volume of activities that are handled by our unit, I have highlighted a few data points on this slide. NCS manages money that spans multiple funds. The majority of our funding is in the county's general fund, but we also have 5 other funds that are used for special purposes, grants, and special tax-supported activities. Combined across all funds, we manage over $160 million a year, collect more than $48 million in revenue annually, and this makes us one of the largest agencies in the county from a budget perspective. Across the agency, we also have a large number of P-cards. While custodianship of the cards themselves lies with the programs, the Finance and Procurement Unit oversees spending and compliance for over 200 P-cards across the department, and this requires monthly reconciliation and review. We are responsible for ensuring that programs supply the correct backup and documentation for purchases, monitoring the appropriateness and allowability of purchases, and addressing issues with staff when necessary. And last, just another data point, in FY 2020, we processed over $52 million in payments through 669 individual purchase orders. As that shows, we work with a lot of vendors to provide a large volume of services and products each year to our residents. Our unit has a variety of roles within the agency. Up to this point, I've talked a lot about the specific tasks and areas that we handle, but at a higher level, all of those discrete tasks fall into several important overarching goals and purposes. Financial oversight and monitoring is one of our key roles. If you have been in the county long enough, you'll find out that we have a policy or rule for everything we do and every dollar that we spend. As the subject matter experts on finance and procurement, we make sure that as an agency, we are compliant and are putting procedures in place as our policies and regulations evolve and change over time. We have many departments within the county that oversee countywide policies when it comes to financial, travel, and procurement policies. And every so often those policies change. So it's our job to make sure that our procedures as a department are in compliance with those changes as they're evolving, and making sure that our employees are knowledgeable of those changes as well. We also act as a consultant for employees and programs within NCS. The county is a complex web of processes and rules, and we are here to help staff navigate those processes and find ways to help them accomplish the goals of their programs. We frequently advise on how best to achieve a certain goal and what resources are available to address a certain problem. Sound management of taxpayer dollars is another important role that we have. As a public organization, we have a fiduciary responsibility to manage the funds efficiently and for the benefit of the community. All of the rules, processes, forms, documentation requirements, etc., that are in place across the county, they're all there to ensure that taxpayer dollars are being spent for the correct purposes and with integrity. We also serve as a liaison with other county departments and vendors. Often, in order to get something done, it requires coordination between multiple county agencies. We work closely with DPMM, the Department of Finance, the Budget Office, DIT, FMD, and other agencies to accomplish what we need. We also help with the transmittal of information between agencies, as well as helping put people in contact with appropriate resources when necessary. Now I just want to highlight a few important tips to keep in mind, whether you're brand new to the county or just to NCS. It's always important to keep in mind that everything costs money. Whether it is our paychecks, the supplies we are using, or the contract dollars we are spending, it is important for every employee to be good stewards of county resources. This can be done by spending wisely, shopping around for prices, complying with all policies and procedures, and reducing waste of resources as much as possible. As I mentioned, there's a lot of rules about how we spend our money and collect our money. So if you ever have any questions, please reach out to us to discuss, because it's a lot easier to ask a question on the front end than to try to fix something after the money has already been spent. Not that there aren't solutions after the fact as well, but everything is a lot easier when we ask the questions at the beginning. Along the same lines as following rules, getting the proper approval for spending is important as well. Most purchases require prior approval, and we have both informal and electronic request processes in place. Please make sure you are aware of what approvals you may need before making a purchase. Different roles also have different responsibilities. Essentially what this is meant to say is that your responsibilities may not be the same as your supervisor, your coworkers, or even other employees in other county agencies. The county and our unit provides a lot of training and resources that are available to make sure that you know what your roles and responsibilities are. So just keep in mind that, as you're learning what your role is in NCS, that you're aware of what, policies you may have to follow, what trainings you may need, and what documentation requirements you may have for the work that you're doing. We're always here as a resource to help you with any questions about that kind of stuff. Lastly, just as a word of wisdom, I always encourage people to use the Washington Post test whenever they're in doubt about making a purchase, spending money, or taking any action. Everything we do and buy is public information. So as a good question to keep in mind is whether you would be okay if what you're doing was printed in the newspaper. If that answer is no, then it might be a good idea to seek guidance from our unit. It doesn't necessarily mean that we can't help you achieve your goal. There just might be a different or a more appropriate way to go about it. Just to wrap things up for this presentation, our unit is located on the 4th and 5th floors of the Panino building. If you ever have any questions about financial policies, procedures, please feel free to reach out to us, and we'd be more than happy to help you out with any issue you're running into. On this slide, I've listed some of the key contact names we have for various questions that people typically run into during their employment with NCS. So again, please feel free to reach out to myself or any of the other people on this slide if you have any questions. With that, thank you very much for taking the time to listen to this presentation, and welcome to NCS.